a definitive conflict of two legends, as Jon Jones and Daniel Cormier get down to business in a contention that will go down in UFC history. From their fights for the light heavyweight title to the intense personal animosity that fueled their rivalry. This is a rivalry you won't want to miss. One particular fierce and furious rivalry in UFC history was between Jon Jones and Daniel Cormier. They fought for the light heavyweight championship twice, with Jones winning both occasions by decision and knockout. Their hatred, though, was more than just a sporting rivalry. It was a confrontation of egos, ideals, and personalities that went beyond the octagon. Jones was a youthful prodigy who rose to prominence swiftly and became the UFC's youngest champion at the age of 23, while Cormier was a seasoned wrestler who excelled in both light heavyweight and heavyweight classes. He is currently a well-known analyst who portrays the sport with integrity and competence. Cormier retired from MMA in 2020 after losing the heavyweight title trilogy to Stipe Miocic. Jones confirmed his transition to heavyweight in 2021 and won the title by fighting Cyril Gane at UFC 285. The beginning of the rivalry. Jones and Cormier's rivalry began in 2010 when they first met at the UFC 121 event in Anaheim, California. It was just 5 months before Jones became UFC light heavyweight champion, while Cormier was a Strikeforce heavyweight competitor. Backstage, they had a brief exchange of words in which Jones informed Cormier that he could take him down. In a conversation with Ariel Helwani, Jones shared his perspectives on their initial encounter. The entire narrative surrounding us is ludicrous. I spotted him and walked towards him with a massive grin on my face. He's another African American in the sport, and I felt driven to introduce myself. I welcomed him excitingly, saying, "Hello man, I comprehend you're a first-rate grappler." And he answered, "No doubt, definitely. Aren't you mindful of who I am?" I admitted. No, I don't distinguish you, yet my mentors have discussed your wrestling ability at the Olympic level. Following this, I energetically tested, "I bet I could bring you down." My intention was to initiate a new championship, but he took my words with such gravitas, overly offended by my lack of knowledge about him. From that point forward, he made up his mind that we were rivals. All I wanted was to connect with him, but he resolved that he would remain distant. I'm fine with it. It's okay if this man has a personal grudge or chooses to have a dispute with me. It's simply a shame, because as African American men in sports, I think we should get along and respect each other, but that's not the case. Cormier was offended by this statement and expressed his displeasure in a later interview with ESPN. "I didn't expect Jon Jones to recognize me as an Olympian. I don't think Jon Jones knows any wrestlers. He was on his way to become the UFC champion. How do you break the ice by offending someone?" I asked. That was the only issue I had. It was the first time he and I had ever spoken. He stepped up to me, a really tall man. He looked down on me and began to make disparaging remarks about me, talking about how he could take me down easily and such. You have no idea who I am, man. In 2014, 2 years after winning the Strikeforce Heavyweight Grand Prix tournament, Cormier was in the UFC and had opted to drop down to lightweight after his comrade Cain Velasquez became the heavyweight champion. He embarked on his UFC journey in 2013 and promptly ascended the hierarchy, triumphing over Frank Mir, Roy Nelson, and Dan Henderson. Moreover, he was outspoken in his criticism of Jones' off-the-ring behavior, branding him as insincere and hypocritical. Concurrently, Jones maintained his stronghold in the light heavyweight division, successfully defending his title against formidable opponents like Rashad Evans, Vitor Belfort, Chael Sonnen, Lyoto Machida, and Alexander Gustafsson. Alongside his professional achievements, he found himself entangled in several controversies, including DUI charges, cocaine consumption, and hit-and-run incidents. On social media and in interviews, he frequently fought with Cormier, marking his body and talents. The stage was set for their first meeting in September 2014 at UFC 178. Jones, however, developed a leg injury during the training and was forced to withdraw from the bout. The fight was rescheduled for UFC 182 in January 2015. Daniel Cormier versus Jon Jones. Jones and Cormier eventually met inside the octagon on January 3rd, 2015, after months of trash talk and violent altercations. The fight lived up to its expectation, with both fighters engaging in a 5-round back-and-forth struggle. Jones demonstrated his better wrestling by repeatedly knocking down Cormier, while Cormier landed some hard punches and elbows in close range. Jones also utilized his trademark oblique kicks to keep Cormier at bay and injure his legs. After 25 minutes, a referee called a unanimous decision in favor of Jones, 49-46, 49-46, and 49-46, to preserve his 9th title defense. Jones outstruck Cormier 126-78 in major strikes and 92-58 in total strikes, according to UFC stats. He also had 3 takedowns on 5 tries, whilst Cormier only had 1 on 8. As we move forward in the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss any updates on UFC. Daniel Cormier versus Jon Jones. Jones. Number 2. Jones faced Cormier again on July 29, 2017 at the Honda Center in Anaheim, California in UFC 214. DC was the light heavyweight champion this time, while Bones was the challenger. Both combatants traded attacks and takedowns during the first 2 rounds of the second battle, which was more competitive than the first. Cormier appeared to have the upper hand in boxing and clinch work, but Jones employed more effective kicks and elbows. Jones downed Cormier with a stunning head kick in the 3rd round, followed by a torrent of punches on the ground until referee John McCarthy halted the bout at 3 minutes and 1 second. Jones recovered his championship knockout and became the first athlete in MMA history to finish Cormier. After the bout, he also praised his opponent's abilities and character. Because of Cormier, he stated he wanted to be a better person. Their rivalry was complicated further when it was found that Jones had tested positive for turinabol, an anabolic steroid, before the bout. Jones's championship was stripped again after the outcome was reversed to a no contest. He was subjected to another USADA suspension that lasted until October 2018. Cormier recuperated his title naturally and proceeded to turn into a 2-division champion in July 2018 when he crushed Stipe Miocic for the heavyweight title at UFC 226, before losing to Miocic at UFC 241 in August 2019 and UFC 252 in August 2020. He successfully defended his titles in both weight divisions. The aftermath. Jones and Cormier's relationship is still difficult, distinguished by both admiration and criticism. On the one side, Jones has worked to mend fences with Cormier, praising his abilities and character. "I'm not competing against Daniel Cormier," Jones said in 2023 to Sports Illustrated. "I've beaten him twice already. I'm overjoyed for Daniel Cormier. I like what he's accomplished in his life via wrestling and television. I believe it's amazing when a boxer can retire and use his voice and intellect to pursue something he enjoys. But I have nothing but admiration for Daniel Cormier." After their second bout, he also stated that he wanted to be a better person because of Cormier. Cormier, on the other side, refuses to recognize Jones as the greatest of all time, GOAT, due to his history of failed drug tests. He also stated that he still despised Jones after their first battle. Other elements such as their professions, fans, and peers have also shaped their rivalry. For example, Cormier resigned from MMA in 2020 after losing his trilogy battle for the heavyweight title against Stipe Miocic. Jones confirmed his transition to heavyweight in 2021 and won the title by fighting Cyril Gane at UFC 285. Some fans and commentators suggested that a 3rd battle between Jones and Cormier may take place at heavyweight, but both combatants have denied any desire. One more valid example is Henry Cejudo, a previous UFC 2-weight champion who needs to intercede among Jones and Cormier. He stated that he admires both boxers and feels they have much in common. He also stated that they will remember each other's names till they die. Following Jon Jones's triumphant heavyweight debut in 2023, in which he submitted Cyril Gane in the 1st round to become the new heavyweight title, the rivalry resurfaced. Cormier was on the broadcast with Joe Rogan and John Anik, commentating on Jones's bout. Following the bout, the UFC released the video footage of the booth's responses to Jones. To sum up, Jones and Cormier have one of the most ridiculously furious and harsh contentions in UFC history, and it is probably not going to be settled at any point in the near future. Depending on their mood, situation, and perspective, they have expressed respect or criticism to one another. They have also had an impact on each other's MMA careers, personalities, and legacies. In conclusion, the dispute between Jon Jones and Daniel Cormier will always be remembered in the pages of UFC history.